Hello and welcome to Get to the Point. My name is James Cordwell, and in the programme this week I take a nostalgic look back at a time without COVID-19, yes, just 4 months back to be precise. And in part 2 of this 3-part series I examine the day that changed everything for generations to come. This is part 2, Brexit Day. WTO is the way to go. It had been a difficult journey from the initial referendum result, the resignation of the then Prime Minister David Cameron and the rise of Theresa May. Those were the high points after the road to freedom from the EU over the Rocky Mountains of the Alps were replete with snowstorms, frenzied rainstorms and long, arduous climbs. The EU, supported by Remain politicians here in the UK who happily signed the Article 50 declaration, then proceeded to frustrate and delay and procrastinate on actually delivering it. There were talks about what Brexit meant to the people who voted for it. Did it mean a hard exit with no deal, which would be a disaster for jobs and working conditions, or a soft Brexit to protect jobs and working conditions? Or even worse, did those uneducated people who voted to leave really know what they were doing and voting for? Well, the then Chancellor refused to release money to pay for a no-deal Brexit planning, and the EU smelt the faint aroma of victory. Perhaps Brexit could be reversed, as they have managed to do and achieve in other countries at other times. The EU and Remain politicians alike were complicit in deliberately frustrating the result of the referendum, and for a time it looked like Brexit would be rejected by the very politicians elected on manifesto promises to respect the referendum and to leave the EU. Let's remind ourselves of where we left off in part 1. At 11 p.m. tonight, we're leaving the EU. What's your initial reactions?
I am just so pleased because it's been going on for so long now and it's just been so frustrating. I just feel that politicians and the European Union have done everything they can to stop it, and which in the end has backfired on them, because now it's going to be hopefully a no deal, and the MPs that try to stop it, they've all gone, most of them anyway, and Boris has got a majority that we need. You know, this country can survive. We've got 65, 70 million people. You know, we can trade with people. We've got the finest armed forces in Europe. There's nothing to stop us. And from my point of view, what's done it for me is the open door immigration policy. The fact that we're not checking who's coming here. We don't know what criminal records they've got or not got. And the fact is we haven't valued any of the work or made sure they're qualified. And it's terrible what's happened to the working class. I'm a former bricklayer, retired, 41 years experience, and I can tell you that the quality of young men that are coming into the trade are coming too late, because everybody's told them to go to college and all the rest of it. They're coming into the building trade in the middle 20s. They want 500 quid a week, and they're not worth it. I want to be an independent country. I want to trade with the world. I want us to have our own currency, our own defence policy, and not get involved in the stuff we keep getting involved with. And that's it. You know, I agree with immigration, but I want it to be controlled, and I want people to be qualified.
So you're obviously very happy that it's happened.
Yes.
And you're looking forward to, remember the 50p coin? Have you seen one?
I haven't seen one yet, but the first one I get, I'm going to keep.
That's peace, prosperity to all nations.
Yes.
So you want to go back to the days before we joined the EU?
I remember it, yeah. I remember washing cars as a kid, and 8 out of 10 cars on the drives I was washing were made in this country. I remember the whole thing. I remember mums staying at home. I remember that, you know, one salary getting a mortgage, and it's all these things have happened because essentially we've had an influx of labour, and we've had industries being destroyed, and we're perfectly capable of building anything anybody else is, literally.
So great news for UK, you think, and a great future to come forward to, look forward to.
I do, yes. I think it's a plus point. You meet so many people. I met somebody this afternoon on the train from Lithuania, and he basically said he agrees totally with it. It's not all people from Europe disagree with this. Most of them, a lot of them are jealous, particularly the French. There's lots of French people here today, you know, for Brexit, etc. You know, we can trade with the European Union. We can help them in defence measures, etc. But we just don't want to be run by them. We want to be an independent country, and by God, we're large enough to. And at the end of the day, if it hadn't been for this country's soldiers, airmen and sailors, they wouldn't be a European Union. It's as simple as that.
Thank you very much. Thank you. There you go, it's as simple as that. Now that gentleman spoke to the aspirations of many people across the UK with the desire to control the borders of the UK as an independent nation again. Peace and prosperity to all nations was blazoned across the new 50p coin, and the nation was looking forward to a bright new future. Oh yes indeed. The clock ticked slowly. It seemed towards 11 p.m. and with about 2 hours to go, the atmosphere was building. Well, we're here tonight on Brexit night. Just 2 hours to go and we can't wait. The excitement is building. The bells are ringing. The lights are all out. Everybody's turning up here to celebrate 3.5 years in waiting for Brexit Day. And we're going to have Nigel Farage, we hope, on the big screen just behind me. We're going to have other speakers as well. It's really a carnival atmosphere down here right now. If you're going to be in London and you're voting for Brexit, there's only one place you ought to be. On Love World TV, you can see it live, but come down here on Parliament Square and enjoy everything that it's got for you. Now, just after that, I spoke to this gentleman who had a point to make about WTO, that's the World Trade Organization, and the rules, reminding us, he said, about Project Fear. Have a listen. We're here to celebrate the fact that Brexit is finally going to happen. What are your initial thoughts?
Well, I'm very pleased. I never thought it would happen over the last 3 years, seeing what was going on. I could see it slipping away, but thank goodness, Boris got the majority he did, and it can't be stopped now. So,
I mean, a lot has been said about Boris Johnson saying the wrong things and doing the wrong things, but to me, he's done something in weeks that Theresa May couldn't do in 3.5 years.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was that Irish border. Instead of us all being tied to Europe, it's sadly just Northern Ireland. But how that develops is yet to be determined, really, isn't it? As to what kind of divisions there are, in the Irish Sea, I suppose. Yeah.
Now, right now, that's right. Boris has put a little border down between the Irish Sea, between us and Northern Ireland, and the DUP don't like that. But that might change if we can't get a good trade deal. We might go to no deal, and that's back as the unified United Kingdom again. Would you prefer that?
Yeah, that wouldn't scare me at all. No deal, no, because so I'm told 85% of the world trades on those terms. So why would we flounder under those circumstances? Yeah.
I mean, that's true. I mean, a great deal has been said about we won't get a trade deal, and everybody's afraid of going on WTO, but the European Union already trade with Canada, Japan and America on WTO. Well, even they've got a trade deal, but they don't have to have what they call alignment, economic alignment all the time and political alignment all the time. Why do we need it?
Yeah, well, I don't think we do need it, but it's all part of their... I mean, the establishment didn't want this to happen, did they? They felt that to give us a referendum. We had everybody from the Archbishop of Canterbury to the Pope, to the President of America telling us, that we shouldn't vote Leave. So they threw everything at the Leave campaign to frighten you into not voting that way. But thank goodness the British people still, or enough of British people still...
Now, the last general election, that's in December, Labour supporters voted in some way that nobody could ever anticipate. They voted blue Conservative. That wasn't a surprise to anybody who really believed in Brexit, but it was a surprise to the Labour Party.
Well, yeah, I mean, how they could have been blind to that, I can't imagine, because, well, as I just showed you earlier, I think it was, I think they had 80-odd seats that had voted Remain, but over 100, nearly 150 seats of Labour that were for Leave, and yet they turned their back on Leave completely. I mean, they virtually was a Remain party, weren't they? So, yeah, I'm not surprised they got a trounce in, no more than they deserved. And yet I voted Labour all my life up until the last election.
So can I ask you, did you vote Conservative? Do you mind me asking if you voted Conservative?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Would you ever go back to Labour?
Possibly, I might, but I had to vote Conservative this time to try and get this deal over the line, yeah, to get Brexit done.
Now, this is it, get Brexit done. What is your thoughts? If you had to 30 seconds to talk to the nations of the world about what we're looking forward to in the next 5 years, what could you say?
Well, for me, what we've been talking about on telly, it's annoyed me so much over the last 3 years. Everything's been about the economy. I'd sooner be poorer and in charge of my own affairs than well off and in Europe. It was the sovereignty issue that was the main thing for me. We don't need the ECJ, dictating our laws over here.
That's the European Court of Justice. So you think sovereignty is worth the risk
for me? Yeah. to control borders and to make our own laws. Yeah.
Well, he made a point there. As he said, 85% of the world trades on World Trade Organization rules, he says, and why shouldn't we? Well, in actuality, EU countries account for just 16% of the world's imports and exports under WTO, and all WTO members, but that's including the EU, account for 98% of all the world trade, or 99.98% of world GDP. Well, that's almost everybody. Now, if the UK leaves the EU, now in essence, nothing will actually change because WTO sets some of the baseline rules for trade for all its members, and most countries often negotiate trade agreements with each other which sit on top of WTO terms. They are usually better than, these terms by the way, are usually better than basic WTO terms, or they reduce or remove tariffs, for example. Now, something we, the UK, hope can be negotiated between the UK and the EU. Interestingly, it's also not the case that 16% of world trade is done through the EU. No. With the EU, it's only done from countries in the single market and the customs union. Follow that? Now, trade with the EU to or from the US is not done through the EU either, as the US is not a member of the EU. Confused? But I'm not really surprised if you are. It's just that 16% only is done with the rest of the world, not inside the EU. Now, how about this bit of information for you as well? Just under a half, that's 48% of the UK trade is currently done on, guess what, WTO terms. That's right now. That's because the UK has always been and always will be a worldwide trader. Hope that's clearer. I could explain more, but you're probably hoping that I won't, so I won't. But let's get back to Parliament Square. Now, that gentleman also said he was a Labour supporter all his life, but he could not support the Labour Party's manifesto commitment to remain in the EU. And he also said that sovereignty is worth the trouble of leaving it. He wasn't the only one either. Ex-Labour Party supporters saying the same sort of things, that the people are going to get what the people voted for. Take a listen.
I think the atmosphere is really good tonight. It has been a long time coming. I think the pressure from the people paid off in the end. And we got what we voted for 3.5 years ago.
Well, the referendum result was quite a while ago now, but it seems that successive governments under Theresa May and all the politicians in Westminster simply refused to do it until one man stepped forward and said, "I'm going to get Brexit done, Boris Johnson." What do you think about him?
I don't think he had a choice in the matter, really, did he? We'd not just had the Brexit vote, we'd had general election, another general election. I think the choice of what the people made had to be done in the end.
I mean, Boris Johnson had an overwhelming majority. Liberal Democrats were basically a Remain party. Labour was just Remain or Remain light. So they did have a choice, and every time they've been asked this question, they've resoundingly said, we want to leave the European Union.
Yeah, I think some people that actually voted to remain in 2016 had probably come round towards a leave position. Simply because they wanted the democratic vote in 2016 enacted.
Yes, indeed. I spoke to a lot of people, especially from northern cities, who have never voted Conservative in their lives, but they did vote overwhelmingly Conservative.
Yeah, well, I'm from the northwest, and there's a lot of people thinking what I've just said and what you've reiterated.
I mean, what you're looking forward to after today's proceedings?
It's a complete unknown, to be quite honest, but if the right rules are made, we've got every chance of making improvements.
That's a really good answer. Thank you so much. Less than 2 hours, we'll be a free nation, a sovereign state again. It's taken 3.5 years to get to this point. What do you think about that right now?
Well, let's wait to see that it happens. 11 o'clock, we should be free.
You think there's a doubt that it will happen before 11? It's going to happen at 11. 11 o'clock, we are leaving this organisation called the European Union.
We are. And tomorrow morning, I'll have realised that it's happened. We'll have the opportunity to say goodbye to the European Union. They're our friends.
Yes, they are.
And they continue to be our friends. And providing the UK can strike adequate trade deals, then I think everybody will be happy. So
there you have it. All the nostalgia of the evening, you have it. Even with 2 hours to go to midnight, some people were still wondering if he would actually be leaving. It was that kind of a day. Now, hopefully he still realises now that we have actually left. Well, that's all I can give you for part 2. Please tune in next time for part 3 of Brexit Day. You've been watching Get to the Point, and my name is James Cordwell. God bless you all.